The story begins when a female student named Banka Sakura is chased by thugs. Sakura was chased by the thug because he was after the chip he had. Sakura refused to give it to him because the thug wouldn't be able to survive the fight. At the same time, a man named Teruto Kurabe gets involved in their affairs. Teruto was very upset because the food he had just bought was stepped on by the thug. In response to this, the thug then tried to attack him with a sharp weapon. However, the thug was immediately defeated because Teruto had terrible strength. Sakura apologized for involving him, and instead Sakura gave Teruto new food. Sakura thought that Teruto was very strong, but Teruto said he didn't really understand the power in the card he had when he realized the card was already in his hand. After realizing that Teruto is losing his memory, Sakura explains about the build divide, which is a card needed to live in a city ruled by a king. Everyone needs it to grant their wishes. Apart from giving him information, Sakura also taught Teruto how to fight. Cards with this mysterious power can summon the power to attack. Each card has different abilities from other cards. If the opponent's card is attacked, then the opponent will lose the opportunity to attack, whereas if the owner is attacked, it will reduce the number of life points. In the beginning, Sakura was the one who led the battle. Moreover, she also used cards to generate territory. As a result, Sakura becomes very strong and can maximize her unit's abilities. But when Teruto's turn came, he immediately remembered his goal of defeating the king. At the same time, Teruto regains all his strength so that Sakura is overwhelmed when fighting him. Even though Teruto's remaining points were lower than Sakura, in the end Teruto won the battle. After seeing Teruto's potential, Sakura decides to bet everything on Teruto so that Teruto can fight against challengers to get their key chip. Sakura said that key chips are very important. If the number of key chips is sufficient, then she can get the right to challenge the king. Even though he had remembered his destination, he still couldn't remember anything else. He didn't know where he lived and didn't know anything about the city area. While taking him to school, Sakura explained that they were currently in Neo Kyoto. Sakura also said that if their build divide gets stronger, then someone can enjoy a luxurious life in the city center. However, if the opposite happens, then they will be isolated in slum areas. This can happen because there is a figure who has united the will of the people, namely the current king whom they will challenge. When Teruto was in front of the school, he immediately met his teacher. Teruto makes his teacher worried, because Teruto is a transfer student who never attends. Sakura gets information about another challenger at the school. Hiyori is a middle school student and the challenger she is referring to. Hiyori came to Teruto because she already knew that he was also a challenger, therefore a fight between challengers was inevitable. In the fight, Hiyori bets one key chip, while Teruto bets all the key chips he has. In the midst of the battle, Hiyori awakens the Sky Fortress and then uses its power to attack Teruto. Next, Teruto uses the opportunity to destroy the attacking unit, then generates a region of darkness and summons a strong unit to attack. He repeated this strategy so that Hiyori no longer had a chance to attack, so that in the end Teruto could win the fight against Hiyori. After that, Sakura asked why he could bet all his key chips, even though if he lost the result would be all over. After losing to Teruto, Hiyori thought back to when she was in the outer district. She was always alone and had no one, but because she had a build divide card from then on, she practiced every day, until her abilities started to improve and she was able to leave the outer district. It's possible that Hiyori could live in the city center. That's why she was very sad when she was defeated by Teruto. Now Hiyori cannot realize her dream because she has lost her right to challenge the king. Even so, she decided to continue fighting. Hiyori then begged Teruto to become her student and said she would come with him wherever he went. Sakura created Teruto to challenge people in enemy hideouts. There was a team that deliberately reduced the risk by sharing their key chips. There were rumors that they kidnapped people to be used as guinea pigs. Therefore, Teruto did not hesitate to attack and planned to defeat them to collect lots of key chips from them. However, when they arrived at the hiding place, they were too late because someone had already defeated the enemy. Not wanting to remain silent, Teruto had to continue searching. At the same time, Teruto was suddenly dragged into the crowd, but luckily a man came to help him. Meanwhile, Sakura met someone to look for information. Then after investigating, it turned out that the person who had stolen the key chip was a man named Naomitsu. He was the person who had helped Teruto and was currently with him. After visiting Teruto's place, Naomitsu immediately received a call from Sakura because Sakura had intended to bring Naomitsu and Teruto together in a build divide battle. The next day, Naomitsu fought Teruto, and as usual Teruto risked everything just for one fight. After the barrier was activated, they immediately called their respective units, and at the same time Sakura came to watch their fight. Then Teruto immediately attacks his unit and his opponent's life points. Then to respond, Naomitsu summons the Lion King and awakens the Endless Abyss region. Naomitsu summons Lionel to attack Teruto's units, then attacks again with increased strength. This causes Teruto to lose several of his units and his life points. That's when Teruto started fighting seriously. He used all the energy to awaken the region of darkness and activate the Destiny Casino ability. That way, his combat strength and remaining life can be balanced. But that didn't last long. Naomitsu immediately reactivated Lionel's abilities from the bottomless abyss. However, his efforts were in vain because Teruto was able to defeat him, and Teruto won the fight again. Teruto was entitled to get all the key chips that had been bet. Even though we have obtained a large number of key chips, we are still far from the target number. The scene then shifts to Hiyori asking Teruto to do special training. Even though Hiyori insists, Teruto still refuses and doesn't seem to really care. To get Teruto to comply with his wishes, Hiyori uses another method, namely teasing him by giving him his favorite food. Elsewhere, a man named Ishinom was ordered to use his power to meet Teruto. Meanwhile, Teruto, who is at school, is eating various types of bread given by Hiyori. He calls it special training, but actually Teruto just wants to eat it. Even so, Hiyori is still willing to do it because she believes that by imitating Teruto's personality, she will become as strong as him. Therefore, they continued their journey to look for other food nearby. While near the temple, Teruto received a challenge from a woman named Kika. Even though Kika doesn't look like he's a contender, he can bring it into the fight. To fight Kika, Teruto starts by summoning Gloom, while Kika uses a unit called Margaria. Kika starts the attack with the power of a lightning wizard, while Teruto summons decoys so he can defend himself well. However, it turns out that Kika has an unexpected ability. When the opponent draws a card, the opponent will get a gold coin to break the sin. This causes Teruto to remind him of someone. Even though he still doesn't know him, he feels he has a relationship with Kika, whereas Kika knows very well who the person he is fighting is. As the fight progresses, Kika's true identity is revealed. Kika is very difficult to beat because he is the real target. Kika is a king and the younger sister of Teruto. Even though their fight was won by Kika, at the last moment Kika withdrew his attack, so that in the fight there was no winner. Kika returned to his original place to wait for the right time and fight seriously against his older brother, while Teruto was depressed because he couldn't believe what had happened. Kika wanted to try repeating the game with Teruto, but because he wasn't allowed to go outside, he could only fight against a doll. The doll he fought was too easy to beat, so he felt bored, and said he wanted to play again with his brother. After hearing his wish, Higuma still forbade Kika. Apart from that, because Kika didn't look well, Higuma told him to rest. Higuma also said that his brother would become stronger, therefore Kika had to rest so he could face him in good condition. After fighting with his younger sister, Teruto looks gloomy and just spends his time fishing on the riverbank. Sakura and Hiyori told him to change his mood and hurry up to find the next challenger, but whatever they said, they both acted coldly and ignored him. Then Sakura asked Hiyori to accompany her. They also discussed finding ways to entertain Teruto. When Teruto was fishing, he met Ishinom. Even though Teruto didn't know her very well, he was a little affected by her words. Ishinom seemed to give encouragement to make Teruto enthusiastic about fighting again. Her words also made Teruto remember his past with his younger sister. The one where Teruto always never wins from his younger brother in the build divide game. No matter how many times he challenges the result, Teruto never wins from him. At that time, Ishinom said something to him. To be stronger than anyone else, he had to keep fighting, even though the person he was fighting was the king, and even so, his ambition to defeat the king rose again. Then, after that, Sakura and Hiyori came to Teruto. Initially, Sakura was worried because she had asked people to challenge Teruto, but because nothing happened, Sakura looked annoyed and threw away all the fish that had been caught by Teruto. One day, Naomitsu woke up in Sakura's house. Teruto took her because he found her unconscious in front of her tent. Then, Naomitsu explained that he had lost the fight. He lost against a challenger he had been looking for. The new group at Neo Kyoto University was led by a professor named Kaizen Dairo. At first, he did not want to fight, but instead sent all his students to replace him. Then, after his student was defeated, he himself intervened. Kaizen only started fighting after observing many of the fights carried out by his student. It is also said that Kaizen often kidnaps people from outside areas. He does this to carry out human experiments. After listening to Naomitsu's explanation, the four of them decided to set out for revenge. Apart from taking revenge on Naomitsu, they can also get lots of chips if they succeed in defeating Kaizen. Then Teruto and his friend came pretending to be students. Initially, their activities were nothing suspicious. But not long after, Teruto realized that Sakura was being held captive by Kaizen. By chance, Hiyori accidentally pressed a mechanism to enter the basement. The place didn't look like a research institute at all, but rather a place for conducting human experiments. Keishin told them that he had captured Sakura, and he threatened them to keep quiet and not fight. Even though they had been threatened, Teruto decided to keep going. Then when Teruto found Kaizen, he immediately challenged him to a fight. Teruto risked all the key chips he had, whereas Kaizen also used all his key chips. Kaizen underestimated him and thought that he would win the fight, and the fight between Teruto and Kaizen began. When Teruto used Bloom Kaizen, he immediately realized that he was an opponent to be wary of. Even so, Kaizen had a report and already had a way to defeat him. Then Kaizen attacks him using units equipped with firearms, while Teruto summons the Soul Gambler and throws his 6 cards into the graveyard. After that, Bloom revives all the strong units and uses darkness to eradicate the opponent. Kaizen apparently already knew this strategy, but in the end he was still superior and undefeated. This is the end of Build Divide Part 1. Thank you very much for staying on this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you up to date with our latest content. See you in the next video.